So my name is Catherine Baines and I'm the owner and founder of the Business Pod. And the Business Pod has been set up to help take action in your business to help you become more successful. And as part of our membership and as part of our service to you, we bring experts in like Dave. We've got Dave today from Opportunity Marketing to give you information to help you run your business and educate you on things that you can do in your business to help you then take action and help you become more successful. And we've got Dave's contact details at the end as well. So if you do want to contact him for him to help you with your marketing, please feel free to get in touch with him. So what I urge you to do today as we go through is to take as many notes as you can, and then later on this afternoon, sit down with a cup of tea on your afternoon break, a cup of tea and a biscuit, and go through those notes and with a highlighter pen, highlight at least 4 or 5 key things that you can do in your business and put them on a to-do list and keep them on your desk until you've done them. Because ultimately, it's no point taking an hour out of your day to come and listen to today's webinar if you're not actually going to go and do something about it and take action afterwards. So just bear that in mind and really hope that you enjoy today. So without further ado, I will pass you over to Dave.
Thanks very much, Kate. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining. So first point, I guess, is that as we go through this, if you have any questions, then please just type your question into the chat message box. And if it's something that we're going to cover later, then I might just skip it over, and we'll definitely cover it as we go through. If it's a question relevant to the area that we're talking about at the time, then we'll try and answer it then and there. Quick overview then of what we're trying to achieve today. We know that small businesses in particular have a tough time really managing their business. They've got to do all of the activities, the business activities that make them successful. And unfortunately, the cold hard truth is that only 45% of startups survive beyond 5 years, and that's for a whole heap of reasons. And it could be poor planning, it could be a bad idea in the first place. But one of the most important kind of areas that I think small businesses can look at to really help them not be one of those failure statistics is to really make sure that they're looking at their marketing. It's such a vital part of any business growth strategy. And there's lots and lots of things that can be done, not necessarily big elements or hard elements, but in many cases common sense things that a company can do to make sure that it's effective in how it markets itself. So what I thought we'd do today is just have a look at 15 of what we've come across over the past few years, kind of common mistakes that small businesses might make, and have a look at how we can avoid making those mistakes. So very quickly, a very brief intro into me. I've been in marketing since the early 90s in a variety of different marketing roles. I'm a chartered marketer, qualified with the CIM many years ago. And over the years, I've worked with both small medium businesses and large international corporates. And over that time, I have successfully set up and led marketing teams and developed marketing strategies that actually help those businesses to grow in a profitable way. And that is really significant, because as a small business, it's really tempting or easy to focus on revenue growth. In the marketing world, I think it's so important that we also focus on profit, so that we've got the money to reinvest in further growth in the future. So here's a little bit of advice that we all know, but it applies to so many things. And the reality is that if we keep things simple, generally it's much easier to implement and make work. And that's what we're going to try and keep in mind as we go through all of these 15 marketing mistakes that are common in small businesses. Another little statistic, only 2 in 10 startups last until the end of year 3. That's a horrific figure, really. But I truly believe that in many cases, the reason for that failure is because small business owners don't really have the access or the understanding of the fundamentals of marketing. We all know that we have to market our business. We all know that we have to communicate out, but it's a big subject, marketing. And if you're a business owner, you've got a great idea for your business. You know how to make your widget, or you know how to market your business effectively. But there are lots and lots of things and fundamentals that we can do that can make that success rate better. So today we're going to have a look at 15 of those possible mistakes, common mistakes that small businesses make, and what we can do to avoid them. So let's get straight into it. Number one, not living digitally. It is a digital world. There is no getting around that. We all know that. I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. But what does that mean? For a small business owner, it means that we've got to live digitally. We have to have a website. We know that now. It's really important that that website is reflecting our business and what we want to provide to our customers. But it doesn't just mean we've got to have a website. It means that we've got to live on the social media channels as well. And it's a dangerous place, actually, the social media world. We can easily forget that we're not really separating our private thoughts and our private life away from our business life anymore. On social media, the two things, they merge into one. So if we have a look at some points here, you are your brand. For a small business, either as the business owner or maybe one of the senior management team in a small business, you really are your brand. It's about how you present yourself both online and offline. And as it says there, social media allows us to be seen both as a company but as a person, as a personality, really. And it's essential to link all of those channels together. Consistent brand, consistent messaging, absolutely key. And this last one is a really important. Don't say anything online that you wouldn't say to somebody face to face. I see it many times where people, particularly on Facebook, something like that, they'll get into conversation with people. They'll say things. You see a lot of people swear. You see a lot of people very confrontational online. Would you do that in a face-to-face meeting with somebody? If you were at a networking meeting or a client meeting, would you act in the same way? It's very easy to get trapped in that. So of all of those things, please remember when you're on social media, how you come across is going to be seen by current customers and potential new customers in the future. Number two, hiring a cheap SEO expert, search engine optimization. You've got your website. You need that website to be recognized and found for your business services in the areas that you're targeting, whether that be geographic areas or industries or whatever it might be. The algorithms that are used online for searching for results on websites, they're changing constantly. Google, Bing, even the social media, Facebook algorithms, they're being tweaked and changed all the time. And it's a full-time job for anyone really to really be on top of how to tweak and change the content and the structure of your website to make sure that your search engine optimization is absolutely up to date and right for your website. If we go through the points here, SEO, it works to increase your website's visibility for people to find your business. Interesting stat there, 93% of online experiences begin with a search. As time goes on, that's higher. It's very rare now that anybody will go out to make a purchase of any significance without having a look online, comparing different providers, and seeing what the best deal or the best value that they can get. Many SEO experts, you'll have seen it online, you've probably received spam type email from SEO experts that make a promise that say, we can guarantee to get your website to #1 on Google. It's just not true. The reality is, and if you see there on that point, Google Webmaster Guidelines state that no one can guarantee #1 rankings on Google, and that is the reality. So when you're looking for somebody to help you get your website to rank well, please make sure that you really do your due diligence there and get an SEO expert in that can help you and really understands the the way that SEO actually works today and understands the changes that are likely to happen tomorrow. Number 3, not standing your brand apart. What do I mean by that? Well, in the world of business, we have competition. Competition is inevitable. If you think that you can really get ahead by blending in, that's a mistake. It's not going to happen. As a business, you really need a unique selling proposition, a USP. And let's have a look at that in a bit more detail. It's about the law of attraction. It's a concept that really says, if I want to attract potential clients to my business, I've got to go out there with something that they're going to relate to, that is going to appeal to them and make them want to engage with me. We've really got to make sure that we put ourselves in the mindset of our potential customers and consider what it is about us that's going to make them want to engage with us. Something unique. It's very rarely priced. It might be the customer service that we offer. It might even be the specific capabilities of the product that we offer or the services that we offer. Something unique that says, if prospect X is looking for a service or looking for a product, why are they going to choose you? And that unique selling proposition is absolutely critical. To just set up a new business, a new small business that offers nothing different to anybody else, is really going to struggle to get that differentiation and set that brand apart. And what that means is we've really got to align our brand with our potential customers, our values, the way that we think, the way that we tell our story, the way that we position ourselves. We've got to make sure that that relates to the way that our potential customers, their mindset, the way that they think, so that they want to engage with us in the future. Absolutely critical. So a little summary there for the purposes of those that watch this later. If you think you can get ahead by blending in, that's a mistake. That won't happen. We need a USP. Oh, not sure what's happened there. The last point there, be aware of who your potential clients are and what they look like. Tweak your own behavior, your own marketing, be that your website, online, printed materials, to give yourself the best opportunity of attracting more of them. Absolutely critical. Point number 4, not considering marketing as an investment. Now this is a really, really important one. It's very common for businesses to see marketing as an expense, where actually marketing should be an investment with its sole purpose of generating a good return on investment. Otherwise, why would you do it? So as we start to see our business grow, it can be very easy to see those profits start to come in, and maybe take them out as dividends or take them out as salary. But actually what we should be doing is looking at reinvesting some of those profits and making sure that we can grow our business by managing our marketing and making more and more effective use of the marketing capabilities that we have. So if we don't reinvest in that marketing, then actually you can find yourselves in a sharp decline. What can often happen is that you start your business, you invest in lots of activities, but across the social media channels, you put your website in place, you start to get clients, you start to get business in, money comes in, and we start to take the profit out and we start to focus on servicing those clients. What we've got to do is both the time and the money has to be put in, reinvested, to make sure that we have future marketing activity to gain those new clients in future. Bit of common sense, this one, number 5, not looking after the details. Common saying, the devil's in the detail, and absolutely that is true. Here it is, the devil's in the detail. Sure enough, that is where you will win or lose when it comes to your business. If you work more closely with your customers and you start to take the time to understand what makes them happy, what makes them tick even, and why they will engage with you, you can use this. You can use this in your marketing to make sure that you are aligning with exactly what they want from you. And as it says at the bottom there, customer service, social media, and the marketing materials, all of these areas you can tweak and change over time look at how your customers respond to these things, change them accordingly. It's those details that will really, really matter. Which leads us on to this one, which is not measuring results. Really, really common, not just for small businesses actually, but for large businesses as well. You've taken all the right steps to get your marketing plan in place. You have polished up your brand, and you've got a good online presence. But what does that all actually mean? It's a huge mistake many small businesses make, is not measuring the result of that activity. It's absolutely true that as we go through our business, not everything that we do is going to achieve what we thought it would achieve. May not come off as planned. And if we're not measuring that, if we're not looking at the results to ensure that we know what works, what doesn't work, then how can we learn? How can we learn the lessons from that and make sure that we do more of what works and less of what doesn't work? And there are lots and lots of tools out there to help us do that. Analytics tools for the website, like Google Analytics, completely free, and gives you a huge amount of information on who's visiting your site, what they're doing when they're on the site, the channels that they go through, Facebook ads, things like that. All of these things have lots and lots of ready-made tools to help you understand what works and what doesn't work. It's really critical. Sorry, yes, go on, Kate.
That's right, just jump in there. One of my mantras on the business pod, and I'm sure anybody that's been to anything and heard me speak, is what you measure, what you measure, you can manage. And I think
Absolutely.
it's so important that you measure what you do. And as you just said, with the analytics that the likes of Facebook or Google Analytics gives you, or even just if you've got your own website, like I use Weebly for my websites, and even on there, that gives me some very basic details of where traffic is coming from. And it really is key that what you measure, you can manage, and you can really see, you can see really significant results if you actually do that. So
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I speak about this all the time.
Yeah, I've heard that turned around the other way. So you can't manage what you don't measure, and that is the reality, absolute reality. If you're not measuring what you're doing, how can you know whether it's working or not? How can you know if you're making the right investment or not?
And whether you're a 10,000 a year business or 100 million a year business, it is really important that you have some KPIs, even if it's only 4 or 5 of them. But you should be measuring key things in what you're doing in your business, whatever that might be.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Kate. Okay, number 7. This is a common one, particularly for small businesses. There's no specific marketing budget set aside. And it's an interesting one because lots of businesses will come in and they will just spend what they think is appropriate or spend what they have on marketing activity without really thinking about why they're spending that money on certain activities. And if you're not thinking about what actually needs to be done and where you want to get to, then it's very difficult then to allocate a budget for it. But if you're not investing enough, then potentially you're missing out on sales inquiries and new leads, and therefore new customers as a result of it. But if you're overspending and you're not going back to that measurement one, you're not tracking the return on investment, you can be throwing money away, you can run into cash flow issues. And how do you know what you should be spending? It's really important in the planning stages to consider what kind of budget you can afford. Secondly, what kind of budget is going to give you the results that you really need to get. So by having a budget, it will allow you to spend that money wisely and smartly because you know what you've got available to you. You can look at the different marketing options that are available to you and make sure that you spend the right amount in the right area. Without doing that, again, you could be throwing money. Which leads us on to the next one, point 8. Many businesses, again, not necessarily small, are guilty of this one. No ongoing plan of activity. And in the marketing world, this is absolutely critical. That's not a specific plan on the screen at the moment, it's just an example, but whether it be weekly or monthly, some kind of schedule of activity that says this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it, allows you to plan and allows you to put the budget against it. So it's crucial in helping develop that successful marketing strategy. If marketing is conducted on an ad hoc basis, it's proven that can be really, really inefficient, both in terms of your time and effort, but also in terms of the amount of money that you're investing into that as well. With a plan in place, it allows you to really think about your goals. Exactly what is it that I'm trying to achieve through my marketing activity, and actually through any activity, not just marketing, but let's think really, really long and hard about what we're trying to achieve with our marketing, what we want to get from it, and then we can put in place a plan of activities that will actually get us there. Objectives could be increasing leads, raising our brand awareness, increasing turnover and profitability. It's all of the things that we want to do as a business. And underneath that, we've got to put in place the right marketing activity to achieve those things. Once we know our goals and we know what we're trying to achieve, that's when the schedule, the plan can come from that. Once we know what we've got to deliver, we can then look at how we're going to deliver that. So if I've got, in 1 month's time, I need to have a whole new set of landing pages set up on my website, I can think about how I'm going to do that, how I'm going to budget for that. Who's the best person to do that? Am I the best person to do that, or actually should I bring in some outside help? And this is a combination now of using what I'm best at, what my budget can afford, but I know the result that I need to get to. So by planning things through, we can make sure that we spend wisely and get the results that we need. The opposite of that, almost, mistake number 9, too narrowly focused on specific campaigns. We can have a fantastic idea for a campaign. It could be quite niche, but it's really, really important to look at all of the potential ramifications of that before we get started. We need to think about the bigger picture. Many small businesses, they might see what appears to be a good opportunity without really understanding how it fits into their overall long-term objectives and long-term marketing plan. So consider something, the third point on here, considering something like a promotional activity like the flash sales of Black Friday. It might look like a fantastic idea to get in a few extra sales, but if your products or your services are positioned as a prestigious luxury item or a high-level service, is that flash sale really the right thing, or could that damage your brand in the long term? Even from a financial perspective, typically Black Friday sales are at such reduced margins. Is that really the right thing for you to do long term? So for any campaigns, and it's typical of a small business that, yeah, we're going to run this campaign over the next month. It's a fantastic idea, but you really do need to think about how that figures into the bigger picture, and make sure that it's of benefit long term, as well as the short term benefits that you might get from it. Point 10, missing repeat and referral business. I wonder how many new businesses really focus all of their time, or most of their time, on getting new customers in without really thinking about what extra value they could be getting from existing customers. We have to remember that happy customers come back and share their experiences with others. They come back to us, they refer us on to others, and actually that's a really, really great way of building that loyalty and getting new customers in. So if we put too much focus on new customers, we may not have the time, we may not leave ourselves with the budget to be able to think about how we can get more from our existing client base. The post-sales process, the customer service elements of how we treat our customers after that initial sale, every bit as important as the actual sale itself, because it allows us to move towards getting repeat custom, both for products and for services. And perhaps even more importantly, we can upsell, cross-sell other things to those existing clients. Just because they've bought one service from us doesn't mean that they may not be interested in other services at a different point in time. And there we have a typical stat. You've probably all heard it before. Gaining a new customer is considered to be around 5 to 10 times more expensive than retaining a current one. So we can afford to put more time and budget into getting more from share of wallet, it's called, so a higher amount of revenue from existing clients because it's much, much cheaper to keep them than it is to try and acquire new customers all the time. Your existing customers, the core of your business, make sure they feel appreciated. It's so common for small businesses to be focusing on getting new clients all the time, and that can be at the detriment of existing clients, which can be losing you referrals and losing you repeat business. Number 11, again, it moves on from the previous one really, because this one is about customer service, but this is customer service both for prospects and for customers. If your inbox, and it's not just your inbox, it could be your voicemails, whatever it is, but do you have hundreds and hundreds of unread emails or voicemails that you've missed on your phone? Do you have potential clients possibly trying to get hold of you by phone and it goes straight through to voicemail, or there's nobody there to pick up the phone? It's really, really critical that we deal with inquiries efficiently, because we know that makes a huge difference to the sale. If we respond quickly, and it's different for different industries, but typically the whole world now expects instant response. They expect a very, very quick reply to any inquiry, and it can make a huge difference. So if that inquiry is made by phone or email or even social media, somebody messages you or posts something on Facebook, whatever it might be, if you can respond quickly, if you can be the first person to respond even better, then the likelihood of getting that sale is much higher. If there's an inquiry that you've stalled on, the reality is they may well have spoken to someone else already, or the impression that they have of you is that, well, if this person really didn't have the time to respond to me within a day or a few hours or whatever their expectation was, how can I expect them to do a good job for me if I take this product or this service on? So timely response, absolutely critical. Once you're engaged with these inquiries, it's also really important to find out a little bit more about them. How did they come across you? How did they find out about you? Why did they contact you? Because by asking these kind of questions and making note of it and logging this information helps you to target your future marketing on those channels and those methodologies that you need to be successful at that time. So really important to make sure you have an efficient process to deal with inquiries in a very timely manner. If you're not around, if you're out on site and unable to take calls, why not consider getting a telephone answering service, or if it's emails, then even an automated response that says thank you for your message, we'll get back to you in X amount of time, but something that responds very quickly. People's expectations are very high. Number 12. Now this is really important, and probably one of the most common problems in any small business is not understanding the financials. And you're thinking, well, this is a marketing discussion. Why is he talking to me about financials? When people hear the word marketing, they often think about all of the creative outputs of marketing, the advertising and websites and glossy brochures, etc. Often marketing departments in big companies get called the pretty picture department. You might have come across it, and you ask the marketing team, "What are you up to?" And you get a tongue-in-cheek comment like, "Well, they're probably colouring in." But the reality is that marketing is much more than just the creative side. It's very much about understanding the financials to really understand where the return on investment is going to come from and what we should be spending our money on. So I just want to take a little bit of time to go through some of the key figures that we should be thinking about. Average client annual value. What does a typical client bring to us within a year? When we start to know the value of a client, we can start to think about how much we can invest to attract and acquire those new clients. If we don't know what a client is worth to us, how do we know how much to invest? So that's the first one. What is the average client value? Once we know the average client value, we can start to think about, well, if I want to grow my business to, I don't know, 50,000 next year or 150,000 next year, whatever it might be, if I know the average client value, I now need to consider how many new clients I need to get to be able to achieve my objectives. Yeah, so it's common sense, really, but so many people don't think about this. We just focus on getting new clients without thinking how many we need and how much we can invest to get them. So number of new clients required, and then we start to get into some slightly more complex figures, I guess, but conversion rate. So if you look at this slide, you'll see there's what we call a funnel. And if we think of it in website terms, we might have 10,000 visitors to our website, and as they go through the website, as they go through our sales process, eventually some of those will turn into clients or buyers, depending on our product or service. So this one shows we have 20 shoppers coming to the website, of which 14 buy. So we have a 70% conversion rate of visitors to clients. And we need to know this conversion rate, because if we know we need X number of clients to achieve our objectives, and we know our conversion rate of people that come into our website or phone us up or whatever it might be, then we can work that backwards and work out how many visitors we need to our website or how many inquiries we need to come into our business to be able to achieve our goal of X number of new clients in the year. So that conversion rate figure is absolutely critical, which goes back to a previous slide where we talked about needing to understand or measure the results of all of our activity. We need to know how many visitors are coming to our website. We need to know how many phone calls we're getting. We need to know how many emails are coming in as inquiries. These figures are critical. Inquiries required, I've just talked about that one briefly. So it's not just visitors. Of those visitors, how many actually come in and send us an email, pick up the phone, message us through our website? We need to know the numbers of this so that we can work it all backwards and make the necessary calculations to work out where we need to invest our time and money to get the new business. That allows us to work out weekly, daily inquiries, the number of additional inquiries that we need to meet our growth objectives. Without these figures, we're throwing time and money possibly straight into the wind. But once we know what we've got to do, we know how many new clients we need, we know how many visitors we need, we know how many inquiries we need, we've kind of got a picture now of where we need to put the time, money to invest to get those results, as long as we're measuring it, of course. The final one on financials, we need to know our average profit margin. We need to know the difference between the revenue that we're likely to get from a new client compared to the cost to acquire that new client. And in that will be the cost of our marketing activity, the cost of some of our administration, for example, or any fixed costs that we have. But if it costs us £500 to gain a client that's worth £1,000, then we know we've got a £500 profit on that client. And once we start to know the profit, we can start to work out where our return on investment is going to come from and how we can work that through. The ideal scenario is to then take that right the way through and work out all those figures for the different channels that we use. So if I knew my profit margins and my cost to acquire a new client through the website compared to gaining a new client through Facebook, I might find that one is very much cheaper than the other. So when I look at return on investment, if I've got one channel that's much better than the other, I can start to work through and I know what to focus my time and money on. So really, really important to start to get an understanding of the figures. Number 13, lack of testing and measurement. We've talked about this a little bit, but actually what does that mean? It means literally, if I have an idea, then the only way I'm going to find out if it works is to have a little go with it, try a little bit, invest a tiny amount, see if it works. If it works well, I'm going to do more of it. If it doesn't work well, I either change it or stop. As a small business, we have to make sure that we spend our money very wisely. We don't have huge budgets to be able to test and learn all kinds of things, so we've got to make sure we only spend money on things that we know work very well. Start small, work on testing and measuring your campaign results, do what's successful, have a look at the ROI, and now that we know what to measure, we can start to look at return on investment, and where the ROI is high, we can do more. Where it's low, we can either change it, tweak it, or stop doing it. 14, lack of responsibility or accountability. We as small business owners, we can't be experts in everything, but we do have to do everything. We have to do all of the different business activities that make a business successful. So in terms of marketing, it really is critical that we look at either making somebody within our business, it could be you if you have the skill sets and the time to do it. It could be a member of staff. It could be that we need to outsource, but we need to make somebody responsible for our marketing activity. What this does is it makes sure that somebody is constantly doing that test and measure. It means that they're constantly looking at what's working and what's not working, so that we can do more of what works well and be successful. But as a small business, very often we're not big enough to be able to hire somebody that's a marketing expert at any level. So it may be that the best solution is to outsource some of that. And I know that we have Sadie. Sadie has joined us today, and Sadie, for example, focuses on social media. So it may be that if you haven't got time or you're not an expert on social media, you might like to outsource some of that to an expert who has got the time to focus and dedicate on your marketing activity. As a business owner, don't fall into the trap of trying to do everything yourself. You are an expert on whatever it was that caused you to start that business, not necessarily a marketing expert. Don't get distracted from your main role. And number 15, this one is very dear to my heart, and one that I find is usually lacking from most small businesses: no marketing strategy. By not having a marketing strategy, it can prove wasteful for both your marketing budget, but it can be detrimental for your business as a whole. A marketing strategy will enable you to position your business, your offering, your product, your service, and it will enable you to deliver the message in a way that suits your business, suits your target market, and make sure that you can do the right things at the right time. And again, it's about making sure that you get everything in place. You may have seen this before, but it holds true. So Sun Tzu, Chinese philosopher, if you like, many years ago, but military strategist. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. And in marketing terms, tactics without strategy is what we see small businesses doing all the time. We are potentially busy fools doing lots and lots and lots of things without thinking, actually, what's this all leading to? How do I tie all this together? Marketing really has to join together to be effective. It needs a strategy at the top that actually pulls it all together so that the tactics are known to be doing the right things. Let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail. What would a strategy actually involve and contain? Values, absolutely critical to a small business, and that's values for the company, values to us as an individual, the values that our clients are looking for. Marketing is about values. It's a complicated, noisy world, and we're not going to get the chance to get people to remember much about us. We really have to be clear about what we want our potential clients to know about us. Steve Jobs said that, but it holds true for every business. Our values, how we position ourselves, how we represent ourselves, is absolutely critical, because the reality is that the people that we do business with will probably hold similar values to ourselves. So we need to make sure that we communicate our values, or that the values that we want our brand to portray. We need to make sure we communicate that in the right way. Absolutely essential. As a very quick example, I know it's lots of words, I'm not going to read them all out. There's the opportunity marketing example values. So our values are about always being very commercial in the view of our clients, making sure that we always take our clients' activity and success first, and we always try to build relationships. We don't take a what's in it for me or what's in it for us mentality. We try and build relationships because in the long term we believe that what goes round comes around, and it will be beneficial for both us and our clients in the long term. So that's really key. The next one, I'll let you just read that very briefly, and perhaps you could just type in the comments box who you think that company is. Anyone any ideas who that might be? Okay, yeah, both absolutely spot on. It is Apple. Yes, Kate, no mention of innovation. That's an interesting one. If you look at the positioning statement of Apple, then innovation is very definitely in there. But when they talk about their values, this is where they come from. But immediately, it's pretty obvious that that is Apple because of the way that they position themselves. The next big one, targets, objectives, goals, whatever you want to call them, but absolutely critical. If we don't have targets, if we don't know what we're trying to achieve, how are we going to know if we succeed? How are we going to know if we get there? And typical targets, and this is the marketing world, so our marketing objectives are going to help our marketing activity for our business to grow. But as an example, one of those marketing objectives might just be that actually we want turnover growth. Where do we want it to be? What do we want our revenue to get to? Where do we want to be in 12 months' time? Where do we want to be in 3 years from now? What is our aspiration in terms of growth for our business? But it could also be non-financial objectives. What do we want to achieve in terms of brand awareness? What do we want to achieve in terms of client retention? Do we want to relocate in 2 years' time? Is that an objective for us? And how are we going to make sure that our business is positioned to do that? It might be that in 5 years' time, our plan is to sell the business. So what do we need to do to market our business to get the business ready for sale? If we don't have these targets, if we don't have these goals for ourselves, how can we know how to make sure that our marketing works to do these things? So if we work through now to the kind of core element, I guess, of the strategy is actually what's our core product. And when we talk about core product, we mean what is at the center of what we do? What is the heart of what we do? Could be a service, product, but what is our core purpose? And if you think about the image that's on the screen there, we've got the Earth's core, and we've got different layers that surround that, which build up the Earth as a whole. In business, the core is usually, not always, but often, the product or service that the business actually started around or was launched around. In the case of opportunity marketing, marketing strategy was the core when it originally started. Over time, there's been implementation packages and audits and other things that have been added, but the strategy, that marketing strategy, is still the core of everything that we do. It's the thing that we're best known for. So you might want to have a look at if you've kind of moved away from that, or how you present your core offering. And it may be that over time, what your core, it could change. If you think about Rank, who later became Rank Xerox. So Rank originally started out manufacturing medical equipment. They ended up as Rank Xerox as photocopiers. And actually, I'm not sure what's left, if anything, of Rank Xerox now, but they've had to change with the times through technology. Apple, another great example. Apple's core product, if we go back a few decades, was the original Apple Mac computer. I don't think that's their core product now. Their core product now is probably handheld devices. So things can change, but it's important that we know what our core product is. And then over time, we will add other products and services, and that's fine. And as you can see on the image there, each of those different products is a nice different color. They all have a different purpose, perhaps. And hopefully they all support our core product. However, danger. This can become a bit of an issue, and I would suggest that everyone that's watching this webinar has a really good look at their own business and thinks about what's happening in terms of their product expansion. Put yourself in the buyer's perspective. Is it clear when you look at your website or your promotional material exactly what it is that's on offer from your business? Or actually, is it getting a bit confused because you've moved away from the core product, you've started bolting on the products and services, and perhaps it's less clear now. And instead of a nice differentiated set of coloured plasticine, what we end up with is a dirty brown lump. And nobody really likes dirty brown lumps, is the bottom line. So it's really, really important when we start to add on products and services that they fit around the core product, but they also each have their own specific purpose. Why would a client buy? This is probably the biggest thing for me of all in marketing is that question of why. And here on the screen, you've got a few examples, and this is a big, big part of your strategy as you come to put it together. Think about why your clients would buy. They might be looking to save money. They might be looking to feel good. It might be a safety or a health and safety issue. It could be any of these things that's on the screen and others besides. But why would your clients buy? What are they looking for when they're looking to buy that product or service? And then that moves on, because not only is it why are they looking to buy that product or service, but why would they buy it from you? We made the point earlier on about differentiation and unique selling point. If they're looking for health and safety, they might have lots of health and safety providers to choose from. Why would they choose you? And if you can't answer that, then I would suggest that's probably the first thing that you should do at the end of this webinar, is ask yourself, why would a client buy from you as opposed to one of the many, many alternatives that they have out there? To be able to do that, you need to think very carefully about your target audience. This is again a common problem for small businesses. Many small businesses fall into the area where they actually try to be everything to everybody. Try to sell to, ask them, well, who's your audience? They say, well, I can sell my service to everybody. But really what you need to do is think about how to target that audience, how to engage with those people that are likely to share the same values as you, how understand your unique selling point, your differentiator, and therefore more likely to want to engage with you. And there's many ways of looking at your target audience, how to decide your target audience. The one on the screen now would be a typical set of methodologies for a business-to-business type approach. So you might look at industry, you might look at the size of the business, the pain points, what it is that they're trying to solve, or the geography. It might be that certain countries are not right for that business-to-business approach. Perhaps if it's a business-to-consumer target market, then you might look at targeting based on age or sex or income level or geography or the occupation that they hold. Many, many different ways of looking at your target market and defining targets that actually relate to your business and your goals and your values. By doing all of this, it means that hopefully now we know what pond we should be fishing in. And I think this slide kind of says it all, because we're now fishing in the pond that we should get the best revenues from, be most profitable for us, rather than fishing in the pond where everybody's trying to do the same thing without that degree of targeting and accuracy. And that leads us to this last bit, really, which is the whole point of the marketing plan. A marketing plan takes all of the things that we've talked about and it puts it into a defined schedule, a series of activities that we can do, that we can prepare for, that we can budget for, that will deliver our strategic objectives, what we actually want to achieve in 12 months' time, 3 years' time, whatever it might be. That plan is absolutely critical for any business. It allows us to look at things, what we want to achieve, and most importantly, it allows us to measure things against that plan to know what succeeds and what fails. We all know any plan will change over time. There are things that change around us constantly. Without a plan, how do you know that those changes are beneficial or negative for you? How do you know how to respond to changes that go around you? If you've got a plan, you've got something to benchmark against, and it allows you to measure different things that okay, I've got this change happening over here. If I respond with A, this is the likely result. If I respond with B, this is another likely result. Without a plan, you cannot have that thought process. My final point is just a reminder that the most important thing of all is to continually test and measure and tweak. Without testing, we don't know what's going on. To bring Kate's point from earlier back, we cannot manage what we don't measure. And if we're not measuring, we cannot refine what we do. We cannot refine our business to make sure that we succeed. And that's it, really. That's it from me. It was a real rush through 15 common mistakes. I know that Kate makes this webinar available, so you presumably made notes. You can come back to this webinar as many times as you like, I think, and you can have a look and hopefully pick up and maybe think about some of those 15 points that are relevant to you and how you might avoid them in the future. But unless there's any questions, that's it from me, really. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. If you have got any questions, please pop them in the chat box now. Dave's contact details are on the screen, so make a note of those if you need to contact him. And what I'd like to just go through is, we've just got a few minutes left, is just let you know sort of my key points really as we've gone through that. And the few things that sort of stood out for me were being consistent in all that you do. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
The fact that with SEO, if you get the phone call with someone or the email, as it normally is for me, guaranteeing to get you at the top page, it just doesn't happen, does it? It's
No.
you've got to have things in the right place and the right keywords. It's they can never guarantee it. What you can measure, you can manage.
Yep.
With your point 11 about having efficient processes in place, the one thing that I was told was that speed stuns, and if you can get something out a lot quicker than what is expected from the potential new client or the client, then it has a real impact on the way they perceive you. And just like,
Yep.
you know, rather than just thinking, oh, I'll do that this afternoon, do it now, and you can really get that wow feeling in your customer. And
Yeah,
then when you went on about sort of knowing your values and target market, they're just business basics, aren't they? And I think a lot of business owners now do actually go into business not really knowing what they want to achieve, not really knowing who their target market is or knowing their values. And I think nowadays when you need to because there's so many more small businesses now than there used to be, especially in the last 10 years since the recession, I think there's a lot more competition out there for similar businesses in a similar market. And you can really stand out from the crowd if you know those key facts of what are your values, who are your target market, and what you're actually aiming to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is critical now. As you say, there's so much competition, and there's so much more instant communication. So the way that we respond and who we respond and how we respond is really critical. And you can only do that if you know your target market really well and you know what you're trying to achieve. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And then, you know, just having a very simple strategy. I do a business show podcast with Mike Newnham, and one of the episodes we did was on marketing strategy, but using the 7 Ps. So again, if you've got you don't really know where to start on marketing at all, have a look at the 7 Ps, and at least it would allow you to get something on paper to get you thinking about your business as a starting point.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
going on to have your marketing planner or marketing plan on your marketing calendar, and just having it there, having it in a place that you look at regularly to refer back to. It's just that little nudge to say, well, okay, well, we haven't done anything this month. What are we going to do different this month? Because you've got to do something. You can't do nothing.
Absolutely.
And with marketing,
right.
you can't just do one thing 1 month and then not do anything for 6 months, can you? You need to, you know, not only does it need to be consistent, you need to do it regularly as well.
You do, and yes, you're right. Doing something is better than nothing. But doing non-joined up tactics is not as good as having that plan in place in the first place, so that you know it all works together. So there's there's a two-step approach, I guess. A lot of people go in and do something, but it's very tactical and not necessarily very efficient or very effective. So by planning it in advance and making sure that it all works together, I think that's when things then go up a level and really become very effective.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I don't think there's any questions come through. We've just got lots of comments saying, thanks, Dave, very interesting. Thanks, Dave, very insightful. Clearly opportunities to improve my marketing. So
Good. That's good to hear.
yeah, it's
Good.
definitely food for thought what you've been through today. So thank you ever so much. As I say, Dave's contact details are on the screen there. If you've got any questions for me, please drop me a line at info@business-pod.co.uk, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye, guys.